First up, the markets. Today is the last day of the trade in this fiscal year, and it has been a stellar run for the bulls. It's in absolute terms, the year has seen the second highest growth all time. Nifty has rallied 15%, while the Sensex has shot up 17%. Today's trade was a reflection of this. The Nifty and the Sensex ended 0.25% in the green. The Nifty closed comfortably above the 11,600 mark, while the Sensex held on to the 38,000 mark. The mid-caps outperformed, rallying almost 1%, while Nifty Bank saw some profit booking. Markets to macro data. India's fiscal deficit for the April 2018 to February 2019 period stands at 8.5 lakh crore rupees. That's 134% of the FY19 target. The bigger concern, however, is that the next net tax receipt figure, which has come in at 10.94 lakh crore rupees. This means the government still needs to bridge a gap of around 4 lakh crore rupees to meet its full year aim. However, the government remains confident of meeting the fiscal deficit target of 3.4%.
Stick to 3.4% for the time. Last month, a lot of things happened. You receive a lot of the direct taxes. You receive also larger indirect taxes. So last month always changes the equation.
Well, the other big headline from the North Block, the government has announced higher borrowing for the first half of FY20 on repayment pressure. It is planning a gross borrowing of 4.42 lakh crore rupees. That's 62% of the budgeted gross borrowings for the full financial year. Sapna Das now joins us with more details. Sapna, take us through the big takeaways here, and what does this figure translate into?
The H1 gross borrowing number at 4.42 lakh crore for FY20 seems to be on the higher side. The government will complete over 62% of its gross borrowing for FY20 between April and September with this number. Weekly borrowings of around to the tune of around 17,000 crores. The government has put this into perspective. They have explained that the repayment pressure is going to be pretty high in FY20. 2.36 lakh crores is the number that has been budgeted, out of which the repayments in H1 are going to be over 1 lakh crores. So that is how the higher H1 borrowing number has been explained. The government has also said that this is as per trend, and this is probably something that we had tried to indicate, but still 4.42 was a bit of a surprise, so to speak. Having said that, another quick point to note is the fact that the government has not revealed the ways and means advances limit with Reserve Bank of India. That number has not been stated. Finance Secretary Mr. Garg has said that it's a bilateral arrangement with RBI, but refrained from revealing the number. A quick observation on that. Possibly, if the number is on the higher side, this may impact your interest payments or the cost of borrowing for FY20. Probably that could be one of the reasons why the government has not stated that number. Also, let's keep in mind the revenue shortage of FY19. There's a possibility, or there could be a fear that some part of that may actually spill over in FY20, in the sense that impact may be felt. So to avoid all of this, and to prevent an escalation in the cost of borrowing for FY20, the government has not mentioned the WMA number, but nevertheless, they are still confident of meeting the 3.4% fiscal deficit target for FY19.
Right, Sapna, thanks a lot for that. And with that, let's shift our focus to the big political news. 13 days before India starts to vote, Prime Minister Modi today campaigned across Odisha, Telangana, as well as Andhra Pradesh. He played the Pakistan card once again to attack the opposition at a rally in Odisha. Prime Minister said that Pakistan is still busy counting the bodies after Air Force bombing in Balakot, but the opposition is still asking for evidence. He also touted the anti-satellite missile test, saying that the centre has now set up Chowkidar in space.
भारत अब अंतरिक्ष में भी चौकीदारी करने में सक्षम है। उड़ीसा के मेरे प्यारे भाइयों बहनों, जब भारत आतंकियों पर कार्रवाई करता है, उन्हें घर में घुसकर मारता है, तो भी ये लोग सबूत मांगते हैं। 1 महीना हो गया पाकिस्तान लाशें गिनने में लगा हुआ है और ये सबूत मांग रहे हैं।
Meanwhile, Congress President Rahul Gandhi was in Haryana hard selling the party's Nyay scheme, which promises to provide 72,000 rupees as direct income guarantee to the poorest 20% of India. Taking a dig at the Prime Minister, Rahul Gandhi said that he got the idea of Nyay from Prime Minister's announcement during the 2014 campaign when he promised 15 lakh rupees to every bank account. Gandhi also claimed that his announcement of Nyay scheme has rattled the Prime Minister.
मैंने हमारे थिंक टैंक से कहा, देखिए आप एक काम कीजिए, ये पैसे देने वाली बात मुझे अच्छी लगी है, आप इसको स्टडी कीजिए, इसको एनालाइज कीजिए, स्टडी करने के 2-3 महीने बाद आप मेरे पास आइए, मुझे बताइए हिंदुस्तान की सरकार, कांग्रेस पार्टी की सरकार इस देश के गरीबों को उनके डायरेक्ट बैंक अकाउंट में कितना पैसा डालकर दे सकती है। झूठ उन्होंने बोला, सच्चाई मुझे बताओ। 6 महीने काम हुआ, 6 महीने काम हुआ और उसके बाद एक न्याय का कॉन्सेप्ट निकला।
Well, Priyanka Gandhi was in Ayodhya today taking pot shots at the Prime Minister as well. She accused the Prime Minister of not visiting any of the villages in his constituency of Varanasi in the last 5 years, terming the Modi government as anti-people and anti-farmer. Priyanka claimed that there is no development in the villages surrounding Varanasi.
आपने किसी को भारी बहुमत से जिताया, लेकिन आपके साथ इतना बड़ा धोखा हुआ। 5 सालों में अपने ही क्षेत्र में प्रधानमंत्री जी को समय नहीं मिला कि एक गांव में जाएं, एक परिवार से गले लगाएं, एक परिवार से उनका हाल पूछे। गांधी जी वहां गए और वहां गले लगते हुए दिखे पूरी दुनिया में, लेकिन अपने लोगों से गले लगते हुए कभी नहीं दिखे।
Well, to Bihar now, where the Mahagathbandhan released their seat-sharing agreement. The Rashtriya Janata Dal will contest 19 of the 40 Lok Sabha seats in the state. The Congress will contest 9 seats, while Upendra Kushwaha's RLSP will contest 5. Jeetan Ram Manjhi's party and Mukesh Sahni's VIP have been allocated 3 seats each. The CPIM-L will contest just 1 seat. Announcing the list, RJD leader Tejasvi Yadav said that the Grand Alliance was unbreakable and Battle 2019 was a fight to save the country's democracy.
हम लोग इतना कहना चाहते हैं कि महागठबंधन अटूट है। जो आने वाली जो चुनौती है, जो लड़ाई है, वो संविधान बचाने की है, संवैधानिक संस्थान को बचाने की है, लोकतंत्र को बचाने की है। सबों से हमारी हो चुकी है, चाहे वेणुगोपाल जी हो, शक्ति सिंह गोहिल हो या कांग्रेस के राज्य के जो जितने बड़े नेता हैं उनसे बात हो गई है। सब लोगों में सहमति जो है सभी दलों में बन चुकी है कि कौन सी सीटें कहां जाएगी।
Well, down south, Tamil Nadu has been one of the few states in India where the BJP has struggled to make electoral gains. So it came as no surprise that the ruling party chose to contest the elections from just 5 constituencies, giving up the rest to partners AIADMK, DMDK and the PMK. But CNBC-TV18's Jude Sanath reports that the BJP's choice of constituencies has raised a few eyebrows.
Tamil Nadu has not been very welcoming of the BJP. The National Party has only 1 out of the state's 39 constituencies to its name after contesting in 7 seats in the 2014 general elections. The 2019 elections may prove tougher since BJP will contest only from 5 seats. The choice of seats is also quite curious. This time the Saffron Party has been partial to southern Tamil Nadu. Apart from Kanyakumari, where it is fielding incumbent Pon Radhakrishnan, the BJP will contest in Coimbatore, Congress leader P. Chidambaram's stronghold of Sivaganga, the coastal hamlet of Ramanathapuram, and probably most surprisingly in the port city of Tuticorin. Surprising because Tuticorin is where its ally, the AIADMK, is dealing with heavy anti-incumbency in the wake of the controversy surrounding Sterlite's plant. This will be a tough contest for the BJP as State President Tamilisai Soundararajan will face off against DMK heavyweight M. Kanimuri.
Honestly, I can't understand it. I mean, I just can't understand why Dr. Tamilisai, who potentially stood a much better chance contesting in, say, South Madras, South Chennai, would want to go and contest in Thoothukudi and take on another heavyweight in Kanimuri.
But the BJP is confident of its chances.
This is a great chance that we have to say, because BJP has not done anything against the public in Tuticorin.
Another reason the BJP is focusing on southern Tamil Nadu is that it hopes to leverage the fact that many government projects have been launched here. This includes the AIMS in Madurai and several road and rail projects in Kanyakumari. The DMK, which is the principal opposition, believes this strategy will not yield results because voters know the difference between genuine schemes and poll gimmicks.
If Mr. Modi had announced these schemes at the beginning of his tenure in 2014 or 2015 and has come now to inaugurate those schemes, inaugurate the successful completion of AIMS or whatever scheme they have announced, then people would have thought, people would have taken him seriously.
Some experts say the BJP may not have had much of a say in the constituencies it is fielding candidates in because its allies, the AIADMK, PMK and DMDK, are likely to have picked their strongholds in the state. In Chennai, Jude Sanath.
Well, staying with poll fever, the Election Commission has opposed the opposition party's plea demanding 50% vote verification by VVPAT machines. In a 60-page affidavit filed before the Apex Court, the Election Commission has argued that the overhaul of a current regime may not be feasible with the polls starting in less than 2 weeks. It also said that 50% verification will take an additional 8 to 9 days. The Election Commission has also said that the petitioners have failed to show how the existing system would in any manner adversely influence free and fair elections. And well, staying with action coming in from the Election Commission once again, the Supreme Court today pulled up the Election Commission over the alleged violation of their judgment that mandates that all candidates to publish details of pending criminal cases. In fact, the Apex Court issued a show-cause notice to the EC. Remember, last year in September, a 5-judge Constitution bench of the Supreme Court refused to debar people from pending criminal cases from contesting elections. However, the Supreme Court had ruled that the candidates would need to furnish their details of these cases to the Election Commission while filing nomination papers. Further, candidates would have to publicize them as well through local newspapers and television channels. And well, the Election Commission, we understand, has now cleared Prime Minister Modi's Mission Shakti speech. The panel formed to look into the matter has given a clean sheet to the Prime Minister, observing that his speech neither appealed for votes nor mentioned any name of any party. The opposition had filed a complaint accusing Prime Minister Modi of politicizing a scientific achievement, thereby violating the Model Code of Conduct. The fraud accused Nirav Modi's bail application. This happens to be his second attempt at bail application. His first bail plea was rejected by the district judge and he had been in jail for 10 days now. Sanjay Suri joins us with the latest. Sanjay, what's happening there and what can we expect?
The prosecution began its case with the argument that Nirav Modi engineered 144 letters of undertaking on the basis of which loans were obtained from the Punjab National Bank and that this amounts to a fraud of between $1 and $2 billion. It was further argued that he has shown signs that he will tamper with evidence. He has in fact tampered with evidence and sought to influence and even threaten witnesses, for which reason he should be denied bail. It was also argued that he has no real ties to Britain, that he has no stakes here, that he has made inquiries about moving to a Pacific island, buying the right to stay there, and these are all signs that he may well flee, which he has the resources to do. It was argued on behalf of Nirav Modi that he is living openly in Britain. His son goes to school here. He has a known address. He's been out in public space. He has a company. He's getting payment from that. He has paid taxes and he has national insurance, all to argue that he's here legitimately, openly, and not likely therefore to flee. What did arise from the hearing so far was an observation made by the magistrate that the very papers are not in order. It was also pointed out by Nirav Modi's lawyer that about half the papers that have been listed are simply not there and the rest are not in order. This does seem to suggest some sort of slipshod presentation that no doubt the government will want to correct very soon and in fact has been asked to do so.
Well, let's shift focus now. The government's ambitious plan to privatize 6 airports has been put on hold yet again. Sources tell CNBC-TV18 that the Civil Aviation Ministry, is awaiting Cabinet's approval. Anu Sharma joins us with the details. Anu, why the delay? What are the reasons behind this delay coming in as far as privatization is concerned?
So we have learned from our sources that the privatization drive of 6 airports of AAI is not a done deal yet, as while Adani Enterprises has emerged as the highest bidder for the airports of Jaipur, Lucknow, Thiruvananthapuram, Mangalore, Guwahati and Ahmedabad, the clearance of these bids will now depend on the next government that comes to power in the upcoming Lok Sabha elections. After Adani Group quoted the highest per passenger fee for all 6 airports, we learned that the Civil Aviation Ministry sent a cabinet note for approval to the same, but was asked to respond on certain queries. But now, since the Model Code of Conduct has now kicked in, sources say that if the current government comes back to power, these bids are expected to be approved. But in case there is a change of power at the centre, then there is an uncertainty which looms over this process. Remember, certain industry players have questioned the government on allowing players with no prior airport experience to take part in this drive. In fact, days after Adani Group emerged as the highest bidder for all 6 airports, Kerala government-owned Kerala State Industrial Development Corporation moved the State High Court against the decision. So clearly, the fate of this bidding process is still not clear, and we will have to wait for a couple of months to gain more clarity on that. Back to you.
Right, Anu, thanks a lot for that. So clearly some legal challenges confronting that exercise. Let's shift focus now. Samadhan, the resolution scheme for stressed power assets, has turned out to be quite a damn squib so far. And as we end FY19, only 1 out of the 7 stressed assets under the scheme have been resolved so far. Ritu Singh joins us now. The plan was to resolve non-performing assets worth over 70,000 crore rupees. Ritu, as of right now, where do these things stand as far as the other 6 power companies are concerned as of today?
Banks were hopeful that before the close of the financial year, at least some of that 74,000 crore rupees of debt under the Samadhan scheme could be resolved. But we're given to understand that so far, with the financial year closing, banks have only been able to resolve one asset, and that is SKS Power Generation, which will be sold to Agri Trade, company for a 57% haircut that banks will be taken, and they're looking at a recovery of only about 2,170 crore rupees. As far as the other assets are concerned, there's been delays across the spectrum. First, of course, Coastal Energen, no bids were forthcoming, and therefore banks are likely to go for a rebidding in this case. Prayagraj Power, for which the banks had agreed to sell it to Resurgent Power, is now delayed because of pending orders from UPERC, that is Uttar Pradesh Electricity Regulatory Commission. Adani Power has also withdrawn its bid for KSK Mahanadi, which means that the case could only, at best be resolved in the next quarter is the expectation. While the sale of GMR Chhattisgarh to Adani Power was also more or less agreed to by most of the lenders, there are some approvals that are still pending, and therefore this is also yet to be closed. Ratan India Power Settlement Promoters is also out of the window, with promoters unable to bring the requisite funds. And Jayaprakash Power Ventures, whose 20,000 odd crore rupee debt had to be restructured, is stuck because Canara Bank, which is one of the lenders in the consortium, has not signed on the final resolution plan, which means out of that 74,000 crore rupees of debt, banks will only be able to recover around 2,000 crore rupees by the close of this financial year.
Right, Ritu, thanks a lot for that. Now, here's a CNBC exclusive. Billionaire investor and chairman and CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett, has said that the U.S. economic growth has lost some steam recently. However, in a conversation with CNBC's Becky Quick, Warren Buffett added that the economy is not reversing its course, but only growing at a slower pace. Here's a slice of that exclusive conversation.
Distorted in the last week or two by the floods in the Midwest, and we move a lot of coal. But there are 20-odd categories that the railroad industry reports on for all the railroads. And winter's always a little bit of a tricky thing, but I would say that it looks like it's slowing down. I don't mean it's reversed in course or anything, but it does seem from all of the businesses, but especially including railroad statistics, because they come so fast and they cover such a broad spectrum. And it gets distorted by whether people are hurrying up the Pacific trade because they're worried about tariffs and all of that sort of thing. But I would say that it does look like the pace of increase in the economy has slowed down, and I wouldn't call it, I'd call it somewhere close to noticeably, but I wouldn't go beyond that.
Have you seen it broadly? Is that when it comes down to commodities, when it comes down to things that retailers are ordering, when it comes down to energy, or are there a couple of areas where you see more weakness?
Well, there are these 20-odd categories, that autos and aggregates, you name it, grain. Almost all of those categories throughout last year were trending strong, and I would say that just looking at those figures, but also looking at some other figures, a good many other figures I see on a weekly basis, where it looks like things have slowed down, and you'd always have the weather factor, but that's what I see today.
Right, so a slowing U.S. economy there. Never good news for the global markets. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of What's Hot. And well, speaking of the markets, up next, markets close the week and FY19 on a high. The Nifty and the Sensex see weekly gains of around 1.5%. Taking stock takes all the action forward. I will see you on India Business Hour with all the top stories of the day.